Share these videos with your mates so you can help them out, because mates don't let mates buy 30-06s beyond 2024. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I definitely disagree. Stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, Coffee and Cartridges. Let's talk about the 30-06 in 2024. All right, so you saw my reference to Pieter from Impact Shooting's video. First of all, let me say, I like Pieter from what I can tell. I like his channel, I like his videos, and I'm never upset with somebody having an opinion that's different than mine. I'm really glad that we can all have different opinions, and so not a big deal at all. But specifically, he said some things about the 30-06 that I had to respond to and had to come to the defense of the 30-06. Now, of course, we all love the history of the 30-06, and it's been a historical cartridge in military and hunting applications for 100+ years. But the question is it relevant today? And should we recommend to our friends the 30-06 as a viable rifle in 2024? And the answer is yes. So I actually did a video last year, and I'll put it in the link below if you want to watch it, but is the 30-06 relevant in the year 2023? And I went and got some good components, some Berger VLDs, match grade primers, H4350 powder, Lapua brass, and got pretty good results. But I clearly stated in that video that I thought it was relevant. Let me say a couple more things about Pieter's video. His overall point, I don't necessarily disagree with, that the Creedmoor and PRC and all the Hornady cartridges are good. They have good modern designs, and in a lot of ways, they have made some improvements. And theoretically, you could see some improvements in factory ammo in a factory rifle over some old legacy cartridges. It's a case-by-case basis, but I agree with that premise and overall what he's saying. But really, it was specifically what he said about the 30-06, the 308, and the 6.5x55 Swede that I kind of disagree with. Now, he made the caveat that he's not talking about a custom rifle, because you could do anything you wanted to do with a custom rifle. You could change the twist rate, the chamber dimensions, whatever, the head height, to make it more the way you'd like it to be. So he's talking about factory rifles. But I'm thinking of my factory Remington 700 made in 1976 that I've been shooting on the channel and the success I've had with it. And so I'm here to say you can have a factory 30-06 and it be very viable even today. Now, we need to determine what we're talking about here. Are we talking about long-range target shooting, or are we talking about hunting? Now, Pieter mentioned several times the term long range, but up until really the 50 BMG 375 Chi-Tac part of the video, he's, in my opinion, talking about hunting. Most, if not all, of the references are to hunting. And he starts at 22 caliber and moves on up and gives you a comparison of a Hornady cartridge that's more modern to an older legacy cartridge, and he thinks that you should definitely go with the more modern cartridge. Once again, I have no problem with that opinion, but it was his rhetoric and the thing and the comparison he made specifically in 30 caliber that I found ridiculous. So let me just show you some of the clips that I had a problem with.
Instead of your friend talking you into buying a 30-06 in 2024, perhaps don't do that. Again, I want to create awareness that your friends shouldn't be talking you into a 30-06 in 2024. Because friends don't do that to friends. And if your friends are doing that, you should really tell them to subscribe to this channel, because their thought process is potentially very outdated. So 6.5 Creed can do a lot, and I would not buy a 308 or a 260 or a 6 point, definitely not a 6.5 by 55, even though that's a long action cartridge. I would just, those three, replace them with a 6.5 Creed. A phenomenal cartridge, as I said. This has been a staple pretty much in everybody's arsenal. If you grew up with your dad or whatever shooting, it's a phenomenal cartridge. And how, while we're at it, we can lump the 300 Win Mag in that. It is also a wonderful cartridge. Again, you guessed it, the 300 PRC, which is going to be those two modern day replacements. You can seat these bullets optimally, get so much better performance, less recoil, more battle life, just more better all around.
He compared the 30-06 and the 300 Win Mag to the 300 PRC and said the 300 PRC would have less recoil. First of all, recoil is much more determined on the rifle you shoot and the overall system, including what's attached to that rifle, how heavy the scope is, the recoil pad, whether it has a muzzle brake or a suppressor, things like that. So if all things being equal, you shot the same bullet weight with the same amount of powder in all three, in theory they would all be the same. And if there was some, a little difference in pressure volume ratio or something, I don't think you're going to be able to tell the difference. Now, 300 Win Mag to 300 PRC, maybe you could make the argument, but because of the twist rate, the 300 PRC could shoot 250 grain bullets, and the 300 Win Mag couldn't even shoot that heavy of a bullet. So with a 250 grain bullet, you're for sure going to have more recoil in the 300 PRC. And then how the 300 PRC would ever have less recoil than the 30-06, I'm not sure. Once again, all things being equal on the rifle and the system, same bullet, same powder, it should be the same. So I don't get that at all. But why would it ever be the same? If you had a 300 PRC, you're going to put more powder in the case because you have a bigger case than the 30-06 to take advantage of what the cartridge is. So I can never foresee a time where the 300 PRC would have less recoil than the 30-06, and really not even the 300 Win Mag. But like I said, maybe I'm missing something on that. His statement on throwing out the 260 and the 308, I don't get that at all. And his statement on the 6.5 by 55 Swede, I think is pretty offensive to a lot of people out there that are still using that cartridge with tremendous success. Now, he was fair and said he didn't mean any disrespect to those old cartridges. They're great in their own way. He just don't think that's the cartridge you should pick for today, and that's fine. But getting back to the 30-06, what Hornady cartridge really can you compare to the 30-06? Now, he compared the 300 PRC. To me, that's not a comparison. It's a Magnum cartridge. It could be compared to the 300 Win Mag, which he did, or the 300 Weatherby, 300 Ultra Mag, 300 WSM, but those are all Magnum cartridges, and to me, they're not the same as the 30-06. Even the 300 H&H is a Magnum. Now, you could easily compare the 30-06 to many other cartridges, but not Hornady cartridges. The only two that I could think of from Hornady that would even be close would be the 300 TC and the 300 RCM. The 300 RCM basically is a dead cartridge that's very similar to the 300 WSM, a Magnum, and then the 30 TC is a dead cartridge that's very similar to the 308. But there's really no equivalent from a Hornady perspective to the 30-06, and I just don't see the comparison there. Now, let's just compare 30-06 versus 300 PRC. First of all, most of his references were to hunting, but let's just say he's talking about shooting at a mile, shooting at 2 miles, extreme ultra range shooting. Well, for sure. You buy a factory 30-06 and shoot factory ammo at 2 miles. Not what it's made for, not what it's geared for. The 300 PRC would definitely be better for that task. But even then, you're not going to stick with the factory. You're going to have a full custom rifle and a full custom everything. But for sure, extreme long range, 250 grain, A-tip or something in a 300 PRC, for sure that would be better. But once again, the references were to hunting. So let me just say this. Most people in this world are going to pick a 30-06 over a 300 PRC for general use hunting. Because unlike what Pieter said, it has less recoil. It's much more common, much more available. No matter where you go across the world, it's going to be much easier to find 30-06 ammo versus 300 PRC ammo. It's a standard length action instead of a long action. You're either going to see it in 22 to 24 inch barrels. 300 PRC is usually 24 to 26 inch barrels. So overall, the 30-06 is just going to be more than likely a lighter rifle to carry, less recoil, depending on the rifle and how much it weighs and if you have a muzzle brake and all that. But generally speaking, a lighter rifle with less recoil and much more common. Now he did throw this in. He didn't spend as much time on this as he did the factory rifle versus custom rifle, but he did throw in this.
When buying factory ammunition, this really doesn't apply to reloaders. Again, reloaders, we can manipulate recipes a little bit more.
Now I'm going to spend the majority of this video talking about reloading for the 30-06, but I will quickly, since he mentioned that, I will touch on factory ammo. 95% of the hunters in this world, if not more, don't live in the wide open American West or some other place in the world where 400 to 600 yard shots are the average. They live in places like where I live in, where most of your shots are between 25 to 300 yards, and most of them 25 to 150. But having a shot past 400 yards is not commonplace, and I would say 95% of the people in the world are not going to do that. And so even factory ammo with the SAMI overall length and the original pressure, max overall pressure that the 30-06 has being instituted, it's still going to perform just fine. And like I said, you're going to find ammo all across the world. It's common, tons of rifles chambered in it, tons of ammo out there. So for sure, just a factory rifle with factory ammo is still recommended in 2024. But now let's look into reloading for the 30-06 in 2024. All right, guys, I'm on Midway USA right now, live, and I am looking at the Hornady ELD match bullets. Now this is in 30 caliber, and it's 225 grain. Let's scroll down here and see what the specs are. Okay, there you see the specs. BC of 777. I wonder what twist rate it needs. Oh, what do you know? 1 in 10 twist rate. Here is something about the 30-06 I want to point out, is a long neck. That long neck, even though it was designed 120 years ago, generally speaking, when the length of the neck is the same as the diameter of the bullet, that's usually around what you look for. So a .308 in a 30 caliber, .243 in a 6mm. Generally, what you're kind of looking for is that longer neck. Well, the 30-06 has a .385 neck, and so it's much longer than it really needs to be, and that's perfect to hold that bullet. So yes, its cartridge overall length is 3.40 in factory ammo, but this neck still gives you a lot of retail to hold that bullet before it gets pushed back into the case. Now, is the 30-06's design perfect? No. I definitely would keep the twist rate at 1 in 10, but if I could change anything about it, I probably would change the shoulder angle to more like a 30 or 35 degree shoulder angle. I think my favorite is 35, but 30 would be just fine. However, in theory, the steeper shoulder angle could potentially keep it from feeding as well, and so though it's not my favorite shoulder angle, that really gradual shoulder angle could help it to feed even more smoothly. So even the little things I might adjust or change slightly really isn't a downfall or a negative. It's just a subjective thing, and depending on what you're looking for in the cartridge. Now here in Nosler's reloading manual, you got 220 grains. With Reloader 22, can get up to about 2,600 feet per second. That's fantastic. You can go all the way down to 110 at 3450 with Varget. That's just what this manual says. I'm sure you could get a little bit more if you wanted to. Now, I understand that the 300 PRC can, go up to like 250 grain bullets. And in theory, it could shoot 110 grain bullet. You're not going to overstabilize the bullet. However, you don't really want that fast of a twist rate for lighter bullets. And you can find this out by looking at F-class shooters. They go with as slow as twist rate as possible. So overstabilizing that bullet potentially could give you accuracy issues. And so really, though the 300 PRC could definitely shoot a 110 grain bullet, it's not geared for that at all. And so the 30-06 with a 1 in 10 twist really is geared better, I would say, for lighter and heavier bullets, even though it can't go as heavy as a 300 PRC. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Now, as you can see, I have loaded 30-06 bullets at pretty much all lengths you can think of. I've loaded some pretty much up to the cantilever groove, you know, and just went with SAMI specs. I've pushed some out, like this 190 grain Burger VLD, that 190 grain Spear Impact, that 165 grain trophy bonded tip, and especially that 225 grain ELDM. I've loaded them, you know, up to 20 thousandths off the lands, and I've loaded them to SAMI specs and all in between. So here's this 225 grain ELDM bullet. Now, I understand that all actions and chambers and rifles are different, and so your results may vary, but my Remington 700 has quite a bit of freebore. And when I went to the actual lands and then backed up by 20 thousandths, it was like 3.6 inches. But that was so long it wouldn't fit in the magazine. So I backed it down by about 100 thousandths, and this right here is 3.5 inches. Fits in the magazine perfectly, feeds perfectly, no issues. And I understand that's beyond SAMI spec, and only reloaders are going to get this, and I understand that your rifle might be different. But I'm just telling you, when you experiment with a 30-06, you're going to find it's more than capable of producing all kinds of awesome things. And in the year 2024, it definitely holds up. I actually made a video, I'll put it on the screen and I'll link it below, where I shoot this bullet and what I would use it for and the velocities I got and all that. So check that out after the video. All right, as you can see, it has some advantages. It has some great things. And in reality, the components and the increase in technology and materials that we have today, the 30-06 is better than ever in the year 2024. I will admit, when I buy factory ammo in 30-06, it's, in my opinion, a little bit watered down because you could be shooting a 120-year-old rifle and, you know, the max PSI is 60,000 and, you know, the overall length is not as long as it could be. And so usually it's a little watered down, and it's really not that big of a difference over a 308, maybe 100 feet per second, sometimes even less. But it's still more. It's still an improvement. However, when you're hand loading, you can get so much more out of it. And one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is it really doesn't matter on 60,000 PSI with hand loading. It's not like when they're making brass for 30-06, they're thinking, okay, now make these walls a little thinner because it can only hold 60,000 PSI, but when you make the 270, make those walls of the case a little thicker because it can hold 65,000 PSI. Now, there could be an exception to that. I think the 4570 does have very thin walls. The old cases do that were SAMI spec'd. But for the most part, manufacturers making brass do not do that. They're making the same quality brass, generally speaking, across all different cartridges. Now, there's definitely a difference in wall thickness and the dimensions, the internal dimensions from different brass manufacturers. You know, Alpha Munitions or Starline brass seems to have less case capacity, but they're just built tougher and thicker. And then like a Winchester or a Remington seems to be a little bit thinner, but have more case capacity. Just my experience, but that has nothing to do with the cartridge. So as a hand loader, whether it's 30-06 or 270, you can for sure get 65,000 PSI out of it easily, okay? So that's really not even an issue. So I disagree with Pieter on factory ammo. I think there's still a good reason to buy a 30-06 in 2024. But going beyond what he said, for sure as a reloader. And let's be honest, most people watching my video right now are reloaders, and most people that watch his videos are reloaders. And so as reloaders, we know that the potential for the 30-06 is fantastic. So yes, I recommend to my friends and my mates the 30-06 for hunting. not shooting at 2 miles, not shooting at a moose at 600 yards. There's probably better cartridges for that. But normal hunting, you know, to a quarter of a mile, that 99% or at least 95% of the world is doing, I definitely recommend the 30-06. And if you're a hand loader, you're going to get more out of that 30-06 than anyone ever has with our modern components and modern technology. So I raise my glass to the 30-06. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. More content like this coming out. Hope you have a wonderful day, and until next time, take care.